What's up? It's the Gigabyte Grizzly Brohema, and this is a messed up time we live in, so I need you all to do me a favor. Wear your mask. Like this, not like this, or like this, or like this, like this. Wear your mask. It's for your safety and mine. If I see you without one, I'm gonna kick a mask onto your face. Got it?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Thursday night, and we are here once again for the Fight Council meeting. I am your host and fight director, as well as the head of the Fight Council, Paul Atlas. And as usual, I have a lot of my Fight Council members here with me as we are going to discuss the week that was in Fight Underground. But first, we want to start off tonight. We lost a good brother again this week. This seems to be happening way too much here this year. We would like to take about a small moment of silence in remembrance of Tracy Smothers, who succumbed to his battle with cancer this week. All right, thank you. And I know I speak for many of my council members when I say we really lost a good one this week. I remember meeting Tracy way back in the day when I first got into the business. I was on a show in a tag match in Ohio, and I think Tracy was part of the booking staff there. We got a couple of green guys. They said the guys were going to work with us. They ended up not working with us, and in turn, we had to shoot on them. I apologized to Tracy in the back, and he said, "Brother, I missed it, but if I saw it, I'd have been up there kicking their asses with you." So Tracy is definitely one of the good ones. RPW, I know you know Tracy real well.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working with Tracy for a good bit of my career in Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, and in England. And I have stories for days. I've shared a few of them on social media the past 24 hours, but he's absolutely going to be missed by me. I can't say enough good about him. He's the man. I'm going to miss him dearly.
Thank you, RPW. Dash Bennett, few words about Tracy Smothers.
You know, I never really got a chance to work with Tracy. I met him a few times, just sharing a locker room together on shows. But for all accounts of everyone that's had the pleasure of working with him and have had close relationships with him, he seems like he was really a terrific guy behind the scenes. So, I echo the sentiments that he's going to be missed.
All right, thank you, Dash. Boomer Payne joining us from the Palace in North Carolina. I know you know Tracy really well. Tracy was a longtime tag team partner of a friend of yours, Chris Hamrick. Please, some thoughts on Tracy.
I can't. There's not words to describe how wonderful a man Tracy Smothers was. A dear friend, a dear brother. I will say this: the one thing about Tracy Smothers that people don't know is if you had heat with Tracy Smothers, you didn't belong in the business. It's like having heat with Ricky Morton or Bob Eaton. He was just such a great guy, tremendous work, tremendous talent, dear friend and a dear brother, and he will be sorely missed.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment, man. Tracy, he loved everybody in the business, and he loved the business itself. Stacy Hunter, I don't know what your interactions were, if any, with Tracy, but I'm giving everybody a chance to say a little something here tonight.
I had a chance to meet him a couple of times when he came up to Pittsburgh. I don't think I got to work with him at all, but he was a really great guy.
All right, thank you, Stace. Bubba Brewer joining us from Central PA. Bubba, we're all giving our thoughts on Tracy here tonight.
Early in my career, Paul, he was on an APWF show, and we just talked in the back, and we didn't even talk about wrestling. We talked about actually the Steelers. And the outpour on social media yesterday was just overwhelming. And all the guys out there that expressed what they thought of Tracy, you know, God bless him. He did a lot for the business.
All right. And as I said, I have to echo what each and every one of my council members here tonight. And without a doubt, everyone stings, but this one stings a little more than most. So I know Tracy's looking down on us all and wishing us all the best shows we could ever possibly have. So we're going to go ahead and press ahead with our council meeting this week. And we have a special reveal, a new council member. No video setup. She's here with us. Her name is Nix. She's very popular in the late 90s in the Pittsburgh wrestling scene. Nix, I'm going to bring you in here. I'm going to do what I do with every one of our new council members. I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak to the people. For those who know you, they know the story, but for those that don't, tell us a little bit about Nix.
I don't know. I don't have any stories. I showed up a genetic anomaly and proceeded to have many, many years of fun smacking dudes around mostly. And Stacy, a lot.
Yeah, a couple times.
All right. Well, Nix, welcome to Fight Underground, and more importantly, welcome to the Fight Council.
Thank you. I'm honored.
It is a pleasure to have you here. As everyone knows, Area 2 has gone down. We will be starting to show our matches next week. We are going to be starting with Area 1, wrapping that up, the winner. Now, I do have to say there was a slight change to Area 1. Arthur MacArthur, due to unforeseen circumstances, was not able to fulfill his commitment to Area 1 semifinals in his match with the Rev Ron Hunt. We mixed it up a little bit. We brought in another person who had won in Area 1 as well. So you will see coming up this Monday and Tuesday where the match will be shown. The Rev Ron Hunt will go against Loss Prevention in that first semifinal matchup to see who will move on to the finals of Area 1. So we're going to go round table here and talk about this a little bit. Stace, I'm going to start with you because he's your guy. You know, you've been singing his praises. Now he's going to get that chance that you've been saying he deserved.
Didn't I say for the last 2 weeks that Loss Prevention was not going to participate in the Area 1 finals because he was already the winner of Area 1? So great. Now he's in the matches. He's going to prove that he is the real winner of Area 1.
It's time to put up or shut up, Stacy.
Oh. Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, he's going to put it up. Trust me.
All right. You care to expound on that a little bit, RPW?
Well, I mean, Stacy's been talking a lot of talk about him that he was the winner. Well, it's time to really see what he's made of. See if he can hang with the Rev. I'm interested in seeing it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm kind of excited to see what Loss Prevention can actually do against, up against a talent such as the Rev. I've been a big critic of the Rev for months on this show. Bubba Brewer, let's get your thoughts on this new matchup to Area 1 semifinals. The Rev.
Well, it is. Well, thanks for having me, Paul. I haven't been here in a couple of weeks. I've heard everybody talking for the last couple of weeks because I had to gain my sanity back. Because sometimes I get a little outrageous on this broadcast. And Stacy, I understand your dilemma, okay? But we are talking about the Rev, and I've been supporting the Rev the whole time. I'm not going to yell and scream right now, Stacy, at you. But Loss Prevention is a good asset in your stable, but will not be able to compete one-on-one with the Rev. And the Rev will beat him, Stacy. I hate to say it, but it's going to be facts. So
Shut up,
see,
Bubba.
I try to be nice. See, I'm sorry, Paul.
I know. You weren't throwing any digs that time there, Bubba. I know.
No.
Stacey,
Hey,
you
you
claim
be
to be a
nice. I'm
passionate
not
man.
here to be nice.
Well, I was gonna say, Stacey, he claims to be a passionate man about his team, but hey, you're a passionate young lady about yours. So, I kind of
In
can't.
26 years, when have I ever played nice?
No,
Well,
never.
in 26 years, why don't you put your dice on the board, Stacey? For 3 weeks, you wasn't putting your pieces on the board. So now you got to put your piece in the game, sister. So we shall see. Area 2.
All right. Well, now we talked to the 2 team leaders about their representation. Boomer Payne, this change up to Area 1 semifinals, the Rev Ron Hunt and Loss Prevention.
I have been a big supporter of the Reverend Ron Hunt. I said he had the steak and the sizzle. He was the total package. He reminded me of prime time. But I've got to say, I am smelling an upset. I believe in loss prevention. Stacey, I believe in your man. I think that he has what it takes to be. I really do. The kid traveled down to North Carolina. I got to hang out with him a little bit. I got to get in the ring with him a little bit. And I'm going to tell you, this kid right here, loss prevention, if anyone can upset Reverend Ron Hunt, it's loss prevention. Not that I do not love Ron Hunt. Bubba, I've supported.
I know, but I understand that loss prevention's got a lot of upside, and I see what you're doing here, Boom. But I've been in the race the whole time with the same horse, and the horse is going to get the victory, Boom. So I'm going to get a little. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm smelling upset. I really am. I think loss prevention has what it takes to capitalize and maybe, just maybe, upset Reverend Ron Hunt.
All right, Dash Bennett. Again, the change up, the Area 1 semifinals. We got loss prevention being in place of Arthur MacArthur. Let's get your thoughts on this potential new matchup. I know we talked about the old one last week, but let's talk about the new one this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I no longer have a horse in this race. It's a very interesting matchup. You see, the Rev has been put at this #1 spot. He's been put on this pedestal. So the Rev is going into this match having everything to lose.
Okay.
Being upset by loss prevention.
Did you just get out of work? Because you look like you just got out of work. White collar.
Well, yeah, I'm still wearing my dress shirt, but yeah, I mean, it was chilly, so I put on a sweater.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but everyone was saying nice costume. I don't know what they're talking about, but it's cold in here. Anyways, the Rev has everything to lose. Loss prevention, on the other hand, he's young, he's untested, he's unproven. He has everything to gain by beating the Rev. It's going to come down to who wants it more. And if I put on the spot, I'm going to go with my initial gut reaction that the Rev is going down. Sorry, Bubba.
Oh, come on. I knew you were going to say that anyway, Dash. You're not going to agree with me anyway.
This has nothing to do with you. I said the Rev was not going to go to the finals, and I'm not going back on that now, regardless of the change in opponent.
Oh. You're just upset because your opponent's not. Your man's not in to face.
I am upset, but that
still
doesn't mean that I.
All right. Well, I can understand that. By the way, Dash, thanks for the Paul Atlas rake, by the way.
I don't understand. I don't get it. People would call me Jake too. Are they confusing me with Jake Garrett?
Anyway, so I mean, yeah, I gotta piggyback off some statements here. I believe both these guys are thoroughbreds without a doubt. The Rev, he has everything to lose in this matchup, Bubba. You gotta admit that, man.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I admit that. He does, because he is what Boomer says. He is the steak and the sizzle of this company. And if he goes down to defeat, which he won't, that is a big, huge loss to his career in Fight Underground.
Sure. He's been put on that pedestal, so to speak. So there's that. I think that I'm not predicting a winner, because this thing is going to be very close. But I'm going to say if there's an edge, it has to be the edge to loss prevention for that very reason. And that this kid has everything to gain, and the Rev has everything to lose. So
Let's not forget that Rev has also been preparing for Arthur MacArthur.
sure.
Now that he has to fight loss prevention, he has even less time to prepare. So think about
Well,
that too.
Well, this
Good
is gonna
point,
see
Stacy.
if the Rev's gonna have to prove that he can switch gears fast.
He's a pro, Stacy.
Yeah.
He'll be
He's
ready.
going to need to be in this one, definitely, without a doubt, going to need to be. So, as we stated, the Area 2 matches, starting with these semifinals, will be taking place beginning this Monday night with our face-off segment, followed by the Underground Showdown and then the Aftermath segments. So we don't technically have any matches to talk about tonight because we will start airing them this week coming up. So we're going to do something a little different here with my council members. We are having, for those of you who saw the event announcement on Facebook, we've tagged this event called Empty Promises. What that is all of us, we've all been in this business probably 100 years combined together. And
Oh, I
over
think
those
100
years,
was you and I.
well, yeah, that's true. That might be closer to 200 once we throw everybody else in this race here. But I'm sure each and every one of my council members, as well as myself, have some wild stories about empty promises. And I'd like to share some of these stories here tonight. And I know a lot of our young fighters watch these council meetings. It's kind of like in the NFL when they have the rookies gather to be talked about by NFL officials and players and whatnot about the pitfalls and the perils of now being a pro. Now that you're a pro wrestler, there's all kind of things you need to look out for. And I'm actually going to start off with a story of myself that I endured. I believe I told this story on the Mayhem show as well. After winning the North American Tag Team titles, my partner and I were rebooked in West Virginia for the rematch. And there was myself, my partner, and our manager, my longtime manager, Curtis Stevenson. And the payday, when we got there, we found out the payday was the promoter paid for our wrestling licenses, but he was only paying for mine and my partner's. And Curtis Stevenson actually had to pay to be on that show. He had to reach in his pocket, give that promoter money for his Virginia wrestling license to be on the show, or he wasn't going to let him go out and perform with us. So, you got to watch these guys sometimes. They promise you stuff. You come in and I mean, we are nationally recognized champions, and that was our payday. I mean, come on, guys. A few months later, it was coming time to drop the belts. They said to us, we need you to go to Michigan and drop the belts. And this was, we went to the management of the national promotion at the time. Now, we're talking a national promotion. We're not talking some ham and egg local promoter. And we said, okay, that's fine. What's our payday? Nothing. Guys, who's paying us and what are we getting? Another guy chimes, well, the other guys, they're getting this and trans and that. And I said, okay. Who's paying us? And what are we getting paid? There were so many crickets in the room, man. It was like being out in North Dakota in the middle of the summertime. We refused to go. That led to the famous NWA belt story, where we literally were going to throw those things in an old box and mail them back to them. And they got a little upset about that, but we didn't care. And this is the kind of crap that these people pull along the way. Again, this is a national promotion. This is not ham and egg local promotions that we're talking about. So they're out there, guys. I am going to start next. I'm going to throw it out here. I'm going to throw it out to URPW. Let's talk about some empty promises, brother.
So the first empty promise that comes to mind is the late JT Lightning was he was my boss. I worked for him more than I worked for anybody else in pro wrestling. And he would call me randomly to say, hey, can you be in this town at this time? Anything for you. So he had got me booked for the Juggalos. They were running the Cleveland Agora. And this was the second night of a 36 show tour that they were doing. So I showed up, ready to work, find out that I was the only referee. So I had a quick meeting with Violent J, where I proposed to him that I had both my blue shirt bow tie and my zebra print ref shirt. So I said, what would you like me to wear? Instantly, he was like, the blue shirt bow tie. That's going to set this above and beyond for us. He made his roadies go out and buy every blue shirt and bow tie that they could find. So we do the show, and the first match started at like 8 o'clock, and it was a match, 30-minute concert, match, 30-minute concert, and there were 6 matches. So after the night was over, I went up to thank them for having me, and Violent J was like, dude, he's like, you're amazing. This was great. I want you to come on the road with us. And I'm like, what are we talking now? Like, how many dates? He's like, well, we're night 2 of 36 shows. He's like, I want you to just come on and hop in the car with us, and we're going to go to the next town. And I'm like, let's talk for a minute. Like, what's the pay like? Because I'm working a full-time job. I can't just not go to work. He's like, oh, we'll talk about that later. I just need you to commit. And I'm like, I can't commit to anything if I don't know what I'm going to be making. I mean, this is a business. I'm not doing this for pleasure. And push comes to shove, I couldn't get an answer from him. So I said, look, here's what I'll do. I'll do any of the shows that are drivable, and we can come up with some sort of pay. And we had a handshake agreement, and that's what I did. I worked 3 dates for them: Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Philadelphia. And if you want to ask me how much I made on those shows, I'll be very candid and tell you that they did not pay me. They ended up stiffing me.
I was going to bite and say how much, but yeah, you answered that before I could get it out, brother.
Absolutely. So they end up stiffing me, but the exposure outweighed the lack of pay, because it was a globally released DVD project, and there was some promises, but most of the promises went without getting paid.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're out there. This kind of stuff happens all the time. We're trying to get our young guys in on this. I hope they're listening to some of these stories we're going to be telling here tonight. Bubba Brewer, I know you've been on both sides of the fence, brother. You've been you see it from the promoter side. You see it from the worker side. So
I got chapters and chapters. But the first chapter is when I got introduced into the Fight Council, when I said I was my first situation was under the great Sal Ponte. So so when I met Sal, he was like a car salesman, and he gave me visions of everything. But when I met him down at the restaurant in Pittsburgh at Green Tree, I had to sign my life away. Like, I actually signed my original my first contract ever with $500 down. I gave him, and he was promising me everything under the sun. And I know my dad told me, don't sign anything. Well, I didn't listen to my dad, so I signed everything. Paid the good man Sal Conte $500, and he was telling me I was going to be this and that, and I had to sign my wrestling name. I had to sign everything over to him, which I don't know if anybody. I think Boomer, you had to deal with Sal, correct?
Yeah, you're right.
We've all had to deal with Sal.
Yeah. So I remember going down. My first exposure was down in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania, driving 2.5 hours, sleeping in my car, and there's 15 of us. And we made we paid the $1,500 because you had to pay all the money before you could get in the ring. So there I am, busting my backside, saving money and working and making sure everything's paid off, because that's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. And I was very naive into business. And sometimes people say I'm still a little naive, but he never, ever, I gave him $1,500. I never got 1 ounce of training from him. And that's probably why I looked like crap the first couple of years, until I got really trained by TC in the APWF school. But he actually promised me so much stuff at United States Championship Wrestling. We did a big thing in Washington, a big taping, huge taping. The place is packed at this Lincoln School, high school, super packed. And then I told my grandmother, Grandma, I'm going to be on TV. You know how it goes, guys. My poor grandmother, God bless her, she went and bought a brand new floor model Zenith TV to see her grandson on WPTT, whatever it was at that time. And I came out because I wrestled a guy. I don't know if anybody remembers him. The name was Malice. Huge guy. Okay. Parker, you know what I'm talking about? Well, I come out and my gimmick at that time was I'm a big Steeler fan, so I come out in a Greg Lloyd jersey. That's how long ago it was. But because Sal promised me a lot of stuff and he didn't come through, and he cut the camera. The camera guys were all at the edge of the ring. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm finally going to get on TV. They shut everything off. No camera. I went over on Malice. The place exploded. And I didn't get on TV, and I didn't understand the politics and the backside of how promoters are. So my good friend Brad Gifford was with me. And Brad, who is a good buddy of mine, we went to Sal Conte's house, and Brad knocked on the door. And he said, hey, look, what are you trying to do here? And what are you getting at? And why are you trying to, he was helping me out. So we pretty much went to Sal's house, knocked on the door, and he was like, hey, Bubba, come to my pizza shop, and we'll look at Don Morocco, Ricky Steamboat videos, because this is how you're going to be. So my first experience with Sal Conte gave me a bad taste in my mouth, guys. And all you young guys coming up, you got to watch yourself. And I almost left the business totally after that, for real, because I lost my money. I didn't get trained. I drove 2.5 hours, slept in my car, still went to work for 6 months. I did all that stuff, did what I was supposed to do, and I didn't get anything. I didn't achieve anything, and then I had to get retrained. So that's what guys, just be careful where you go, you up and comers. So that's my story.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Sal Conte, without a doubt, I'm gonna throw one more Sal Conte story out there while we got him on the line here. I remember doing a show down in the Washington County area of Pennsylvania, and we got the oh so familiar brother. The gate wasn't what I thought it was. I'll get you the money, and Preston Steele was on the show. He and I actually worked each other that night. And I can remember Preston calling me every day for a month. Get the money yet? Did you get the money? Brother, we're not getting paid. Did you get the money? No, we never saw that. But he still owes me that money to this day, and that was in 1994. So I better be in his will for my payday. That's all I know.
Everybody should be in his will.
That's for sure. Boomer Payne, brother, let's hear. What do you got for us tonight?
So, kind of along the lines of Bubba, back to training. I'm not going to use any names or organizations or anything, but you guys, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, will know who I'm talking about. I was promised after the $2,500 that I paid to train. I got promised that when I graduated, that I would have new ring gear, new boots, all the glitz and glamour, everything that you need to be a professional wrestler. We were going on TV, blah, 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 blah. None of that ever happened. But I do date back to my very first match, October 11th, 1995, and it comes time for the payday, and he ran out of cash, so he writes me a check. And it is October 29th, 2020, and that check is still bouncing.
You collecting interest? Are you collecting interest on that?
Good God, I could be able to retire if I did.
At least you got a check. He didn't pay me at all.
Yeah, as I said, I'm still waiting for that one in the mail. Dash Bennett, let's hear. Let's go down here and see what you got for us, brother.
So while we're on the topic of giving advice, my one piece of advice would be to the talent out there to be careful who you accept bookings from, especially if you have someone that is popping up and running a show out of nowhere with no proven track record or any anything that they've done in the business at all. This was, I believe, in the mid 2000s. A promoter put a show together and famously left during the show with the gate money, leaving some of the workers to try to look for him afterwards and collect their pay. This gentleman resurfaced a few years later running a new promotion, and because he had burned so many bridges before, got someone that was very young and new to the business to come on as their head booker. And this would go on to be this person's business model as they would continue to burn bridges with people. I got involved with the promotion because the person hired as the booker was a friend of mine, and I didn't want them to get taken advantage of. And as he started building credibility, I decided to come on and help with the booking. So we get to probably this person's second show under this regime. And days before the event, he decides to just quit the business and go completely black. Turns off his phone, leaves social media, and leaves the two of us to decide what we're going to do. We end up putting on the show, but I was responsible for contacting all the talent, asking them to take a decrease in pay because we weren't being funded for this show. We had to cancel some name talent that was coming in, canceling their flight and hotel. We ended up running the show. The friend of mine put his own money on and ended up losing money as a result. And this promoter decides to retweet a picture that someone took of the event and took credit for the show's success. This person, unfortunately, is still involved in the business today, trying to get anyone that will work for him. He's burned, as I said, most of his bridges in the business, but he's still hanging on and trying to get people that are newer to the business that have not had experiences with him to join in. So, please be careful, be particular, do your research on who you're doing business with.
Without a doubt, that's probably the biggest advice you can give anybody coming into this business. Because
I know that guy is, and that same individual used to call my phone and ask me for bookings in his Hulk Hogan impersonation. He would call my phone all the time. Frank called my phone.
That person was attempting to buy your ring, and had used that as an excuse for canceling shows because he couldn't get the ring from you.
Well, I'm glad I didn't give it to him.
Yeah, they are out there, boys and girls. They are out there. Stacy Hunter, I'm going to bring you in right now, and let's hear a couple stories.
Well, I have to agree with Dash. For the young guys, definitely do your research on who you're dealing with, because there are still guys around Pittsburgh that will just hang on to anybody with a license and will run their mouth and tell you a good story about, oh yeah, we're going to be on TV. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to bring in names, blah, 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 blah. And it's always the same crap over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, there's been so many things that have happened over the years. The buildings that we have worked in, being snowed on in the middle of a match. Myself in high heels about this high, trying to walk around ringside, dodging ice around the ring, dodging ice inside the ring. The bathrooms being frozen to where we couldn't even use the bathrooms and had to go across the street to another establishment. I mean, it's just so much. So yeah, definitely, guys, before you take a booking from somebody around here that you've never heard of, come to one of us. We will definitely give you stories.
I got stories for days about bad buildings. I can tell you how much money that I've spent to help fix something because it was broken, just to make it nice for the boys in the back. Council members alike doing the same thing, painting buildings on their own dime, just because the promoter wouldn't want to take care of it and have a nice, safe environment for the workers.
No heat,
Sure,
no
yeah.
running water,
Yeah.
pigeons living in the building.
Dead cats.
Dead animals in the building.
We've all been there, and we've all joked that we're immune to COVID because of it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Oh, and speaking of, go ahead, Boomer.
I was just going to say, that's because we have pride and we were proud of what we were doing, and we didn't want to look like a bunch of ragamuffins. We wanted to look as professional as could be, even though it wasn't really, you know.
That's the thing. Like I've always gone above and beyond for whoever I work for. I want to do the best possible job that I can, and I want to help make the product succeed, because that's what we want to do. We want to make this business succeed. We want people to see us, to follow us, to enjoy being there, not sitting on our hands hoping that the ceiling's not going to collapse. I mean, I've seen tarps hanging from the ceiling that are filling up with water that have fallen on fans, and those people don't come back. That's absolutely absurd.
But people are running places like that, though. That's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is. Nix is our newest council member. I'm going to bring you in and see if you got any horror stories for us.
I don't really. I lucked into training in a place when it was still all right. We'll leave it at that. You know, that's where I met you, Paul, and, you know, everybody else. And then when I left that place, I ended up meeting this goofball named Bubba and enjoyed my time with that Fed. And then I also did a lot of stuff up in Buffalo, New York, in the promotion up there. So I didn't do a ton of traveling. I didn't do what a lot of other workers did. I just worked as much as I wanted, as often as I wanted, and lucked out into 2 really good Feds where I did the bulk of my adventuring.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no complaints, except that Bubba guy's a weirdo, but in a good way. Right?
I will attest to that.
No, thanks. Don't listen. Don't
I met
listen.
this like
Don't listen to him.
18-year-old kid at one point who apparently, you know, was going to be a referee. Hey, Potter.
Hi.
I've been weirdly fortunate. I think some of it is I didn't wrestle full time. I wrestled every weekend, but I didn't travel a ton because that wasn't what I wanted from it. I just enjoyed doing it and being my genetic makeup. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a legit 6'2". So yeah, people treated me well. We'll say, because you don't.
Yeah, especially back in those days. That was really, you know, that was not the. It was an oddity, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Oh, my genetics are straight up freak show. Welcome to my family. We all are. Yeah. It's cool.
but Nix,
that may have opened a few doors.
But Nix,
more than a few.
But Nix, when you came to the APWF and you worked with us, you were a family, and me and you, when we did the Soldiers of Fortune gimmick, and me and you were running rampant with the guys, with all the with Charlie Manson and stuff, and you were part of that family, and you were part of that family when we had tragedy too, and you solidified stuff when and we do. I don't want to talk about too much about tragedy, but you were there. You helped us get through a lot of stuff at that time. So I always love you, and you're a person. So thank you.
Well, while we're on the topic of that, of your company there, Bubba, there was another story that I was thinking about here just in the interim. You guys ran the Key Arena.
Oh, the K, it was called the
K Arena.
K Arena, and I'm pointing right here at it, and it's 5 seconds up the road from my abode. So I can tell you stories. Oh my God.
Yep. So I was fortunate enough to work with a star that night. His first match on the Indies since being released from the WWE, and that particular guy took a liking to me, and we exchanged phone numbers that day. And he was like, "Keep in touch." He's like, "I want to help you out. I want to give you a break." So you know, I'd periodically see him from time to time, and we would talk. And he would always be like, "Call me. I mean it. Seriously, call me." And I never did because I was nervous, you know. So finally, I got the courage one day to call him. And he was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "I'm getting booked on this show. I heard that you're going to be there too." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it was in Cleveland." So we met up there, and he's like, "Make sure you ref my match tonight." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, not a problem." So after the match, he's like, "Look," he's like, "I want you to get a copy of this match, and I want you to send it to this address." It was an address in Nashville, one of the major companies at the time. He was like, "Make sure you attend it to talent relations, Terry Taylor." I'm like, "Absolutely." Like, he was the talent rep at TNA at the time, and he was like, "I want you to send it there." About 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a Nashville area code. I'm like, "Who the hell is this?" It's Terry Taylor. He's like, hey, he's like, I just got your tape. I'm just getting ready to watch it. So just hang tight. He's like, I've heard some good things about you. I'm like, oh, cool. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So we hang up. He calls me back 15 minutes later. He's like, man, he's like, I'm impressed. He's like, I really like what I saw. He's like, I want you to send me another tape with this, and this on there. I'm like, oh, absolutely. I'll overnight it. So that's what I did. Went home, made another tape, sent it down. He called me back about 3 or 4 days later. Hey, impressive. Again, send me another tape. So I did. And I never heard back because they fired him.
Oh.
So guys, don't get discouraged. Just keep working.
Yeah, and
I really thought you were going to go another direction with that story, but
pull that trigger a little earlier too, maybe. Huh?
Those K Arena shows were, that's 7 parts of a documentary right there, guys. I worked in the biggest bar on this side of the Mississippi, and them shows were. I'm not even going to talk anymore about it because it would get like funny and bad at the same time.
I want to say something. I know that we all have our horror stories from wrestling. We have, bad promoters that we've wrestled for, stories about getting stiffed on pay. We could go on and on about all of these horror stories, but you never hear stories about the good promotions and the good promoters. And Bub, as much as I dislike you, I'm actually going to pay you a compliment here because when you were promoting shows in the early 2000s, I had a chance to work for you a number of times. And, I always had a great time with those shows. I was always treated well. All the men and women in the locker room were treated with respect. And, those shows were really great. So, nothing bad to say about those. In fact, Bubba, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to being a promoter, you're one of the good ones.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, when it comes to being a wrestler, you were the drizzling shits. But
and here I thought he was going to give you the Bubba rate.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. But Dash, we and out to this. When that tragedy struck, we come together, and God bless Robert, and that's why some of us kept doing it. It wasn't about a paycheck for me. It wasn't about. I spent more money doing stuff to help people out, and I've met the greatest bunch of guys and girls that you'll ever meet, and it's a brotherhood like no other. Okay, I'm sorry, women.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to make everybody younger, yeah, but and I'll and people just don't understand how all of us in this wrestling world transpires when I hear stuff when regular people's like, what, you know what I mean? So yes, this is a business like no other. And it keeps pulling you back in like the mafia, though. But
I've said that for years. You're never getting out alive. That's for damn sure.
So Dash mentioned getting stiffed on paydays. How many of you guys remember getting paid by check? And it was a $2.50 check.
Oh,
holy shit, Potter, you don't.
I'm just gonna hide it right here, but I do still have it.
It's in scrap.
And the building cost like how much to rent, and he couldn't even pay us in like real money.
Well, here's the big issue that I had with this. They went out and spent a ton of money on radio advertisements, and here's what the radio ad said: live pro wrestling this Saturday night. Come see all your favorite stars. Bell time 7:00. We'll see you there. What are they missing?
Address?
Where? They spent a ton of money on it, and I wish I could say that I was joking because I heard the radio ad at least a dozen times that day, and not once was there a location.
That's I can remember getting stiffed one night and almost the second night, but yeah, it was the same group who had just got stiffed the night before, and the reason it was the same ring crew as the night before. We were up in a town up in New York, close to the New York-Pennsylvania border, and the ring crew left a come-along for the ring in the town we were prior, and we're talking 5 hours away. So, this town, everything rolled up at 6 o'clock. He couldn't find a come along to save his life. He finally got the ring set up. The show started late, and the promoter's telling the boys, I'm not paying y'all. The show went off late. I'm not paying any of y'all. It's like, brother, you want to pay the ring guy. That's fine. And he had, I'm telling you, no joke, he had 20 wrestlers surround him in a circle and said, you better get your wallet out. And discretion was the better part of valor that night. And he paid each and every one of us because, like, we all just got it the night before. It was not going to happen again. So, and yeah, you're right. There's good ones out there. There's bad ones out there. We've all been in meetings with some of these people who have told us, get ready to quit your day jobs. We're going on tours of Europe, London. We're going to be big time overseas. Just go and put your 2 weeks notice in, man. You're going to be swimming in money.
So I was fortunate enough to get a trip booked to England, and the whole time leading up to it, I to be honest, I was ready for it to the bottom to fall out, because like my story has always been like every time I get to a certain point, the bottom falls out. So I really I was very hesitant about it. I was like, there's no way that this is actually going to happen to me. And literally up until the last minute, I really thought that the trip was going to get canceled. And I was fortunate enough that it did happen.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like I said, they promise you the world. So,
well, I was told we had a show. The APWF had a show 2 months before the legendary Break the Barrier show, and I was the heavyweight champion. And if I would have retained the title, I would have been on that show. But I had a meeting with Mr. Chris Lash, and I remember Bubba, you're not good enough. So if I'm going to take my company down there and break the barrier because I'm promoting the show, you're not going to be on the show. But in a positive light, I had a really good time. It was a great experience. But at that time, being young, that was my opportunity to be. And honestly, I probably couldn't compete in that three-way match in that Break the Barrier show because those guys are legends and those guys were good. But being young, that was my opportunity to captivate myself into a higher level. But Lash told me, not that good, Bubba. So it was a hard pill to swallow. But guys out there, if they tell you you're not that good, just work harder and just don't let them tell you that you're not that good.
And don't get offended if you're told you're not marketable, because hey, Dash, you remember hearing that?
Of course. I have a story. I worked for a promoter in West Virginia. There's something about these NWA promoters. But his television champion couldn't make an event. So they did sort of a phantom title switch where I won the title from somebody who was defending it as the champion. We get to the next event, and the original champion is there. He's booked as the champion. We get to another show. He's not there. I'm booked as the champion. So I'm treating it for all intents and purposes as I'm the champion, I'm the title holder. We get to a big show that he's running where he's booked a main event of Jerry Lynn versus Rey Mysterio. This is right before Mysterio went to the WWE in 2002. Despite working for this promoter for maybe a year or two at that point, being booked consistently on his shows, doing everything that's asked of me, holding a championship of his, I was not booked on the show and was asked to work security, even though I was a member of his roster and a title holder. It got to the point where Rey Mysterio's flight was delayed and they were stalling until it could get there. So they were throwing on matches. They were throwing out battle royals. They pulled a trainee out of the crowd to participate in the battle royal. And I was still there, has to work security. It's just one of those things where I've been told that I'm not marketable. And yeah, we've all been told things, but there's just people out there that'll just make you feel like you're the biggest piece of shit, not worth booking. But as soon as they need something from you, they'll come crawling back and try to put you over. There's just a lot of shady people out there in the business.
Yeah,
but there's people who will make up all kind of shit about you and tell people all kind of shit that didn't really happen to make you look like a big piece of shit too.
Yeah.
Sure.
One other thing until they want something from you.
There's good and bad.
Yep.
Good and
Sure. Sure. And I want to touch on something else slightly here. You know, as we're talking about some of the good, the bad, bookers who are always the champion, or the promoter who are always the champion of their own organization.
Not this cat.
And you know what, Bubba, that's the thing. You know, I remember the very first time I took a book, and I took the book and I was the heavyweight champion. The very next show, I dropped that son of a bitch because there's just too many out there that they are only running those shows to put themselves over, their own egos over.
Nope.
They couldn't make it in any other organization, so they go do their own thing. And, you know, right away, they're the heavyweight champ. And I know we've all been involved with organizations like that. So that's another thing that, you know, is definitely out there. And that is your promoter / booker who's only running to make sure that they're the top dog and everybody else. I know a promoter who used to book a certain guy just because he wanted him to bring his belt in that he had so the promoter could come out as the champ. That's the only reason he booked him, because he had a title belt for that this guy can walk out with every show as the champ. So,
and a really nice title belt too.
Exactly, not one of these homemade, you know,
High plate belts.
Yeah. I can remember being on shows where they're saying, "You're the champs. Well, where's the belt? We ain't got no belts." What do you mean you ain't got no belts?
But my thing, Paul and guys, when I was a promoter, I felt bad because I couldn't get everybody on the show, and that was my biggest problem. I would have 12 matches at the K Arena, and as I sit back and look back, that's crazy. So when I got back into the APWF, when I came back from Florida, I got it down to 7 matches in under 2 hours, and I wanted to get in and get out. My problem was I was too nice, and if I had this attitude and mentality I have now, but also with about $25,000 of money set to the side, then I would do it. But it's very, very hard to promote, because when you try to delegate stuff, people just don't want to listen to you about promoting. If they can't promote themselves, guys, if you can't promote yourself, what are you going to do for me as a promoter? How am I supposed to make anything off of you if you're not fully invested into yourself? I'm fully invested in myself all the time. That's a sad part.
Here's also my big thing too, is as a promoter, you need to hire somebody that really knows what they're doing graphically. If you have a shitty looking graphic for a poster, what is the appeal though? I've seen some artwork out there that's just horrendous. It looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. You know, you want to have a nice clean picture, something that's easily like readable. You want something that's going to stand out and make your product stand out over somebody else's. I've been doing graphics for a couple of years now, like solid, just doing different local promotion graphic work. And like, I try to like give that promotion a different feel when I'm doing the next one. So it's like, it sets everybody apart. Some of these things that I've seen recently are just absolute dog shit.
Very quick. Couple quick points, real quick. And to the other council members, how old do you people feel that RPW is the baby of this group and he's talking about sending out tapes? Does that not make you feel old?
Well, Boomer, I was a tape trader when I was a kid, man.
Okay. Another point. And this is not going to be a popular point, but as a booker, and there is one person that a booker can absolutely 100% trust on that card, and that is himself.
I agree.
Another flip side to why some bookers do put themselves over is because that is the one and only person that they can trust. Number 3, the biggest problem with people in the business today, young guys, old guys, is when they look in the mirror, they don't see themselves. They see something else. They look in the mirror and they see The Rock. They don't see themselves, right? So as self-awareness, and this touches on Potter's thing, people, promotions will put out crappy posters because they don't see the crappy poster. They see a WrestleMania banner. Do you see what I mean?
100%,
sure.
absolutely.
Well, but if we had all this technology back then, all of us would have been successful. If we had social media back then and had technology to make the posters, like Jesse that does all those posters, Jesse was been doing great posters for many, many years. You know what I mean? But I'm not that tech savvy, and I own up to it.
Where do
A
you think
lot of
you
us
learned it
would have been
from?
in jail though, Bubba. If
Okay.
social media was available back then, we would all been in
No,
jail.
it was well.
I
That's
might be
We did
coming
have
up for
social
parole
media
at this
back then.
point,
It was
but
just
yeah.
called LiveJournal.
Oh, wow.
And you know, to some of that
Even
point,
with the technology now, and the ability to spell, we still have promoters that can't even spell the name of their own company.
Well, I got a couple concussions. My grammar's terrible, but I can talk all day, but I can't write to save my life.
and let's talk a little bit too. I want to talk about, you know, the preparedness of being a promoter. You know, everybody wants to be a promoter, and a lot of times these horror stories come out of these people who just, they think it's easy. I just got to get a ring, you know, in PA, $100 for a license and get a surety bond, and I can be a promoter. Now, I went to a seminar at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion out in Las Vegas a few years back, and this seminar was on promoting. And one of the promoters there, and God, his name escapes me, Boomer, you could probably help me out here. He runs that big fest every year in November down in the Carolinas. And his name is
Yes,
escaping me.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention the name, but yes, I know who you're talking about. I'll
Right.
say it offline.
And this guy, the number one thing he says is, as a promoter, if you don't walk in that building that night with payroll in your pocket, you do not belong promoting any wrestling show.
Absolutely 100% agree.
You should have that
Yep.
payroll in your pocket, but do not depend on the gate. Because a lot of these non-pay stories, you know, a couple of the ones I told even tonight were based on, you know, the gate isn't what I thought it would be, brother. You should have that money in your pocket before you ever step in that building. And if you don't run. And I think that's why promoters get a bad rap.
Yep, my check for $2.50. Their agreement with the boys is that you were going to get paid off a base off of the percentage of the gate, and the gate was absolute crap. Well, again, because they spent all this money on radio ads and they didn't hit their key points.
Sure. And you know what? Paying off percentages of the gate, that's great if you're Vince, but not some of these other guys.
Not if
Well,
you're running a 300-seat arena.
Exactly.
Well, if I made sure I could not in my best interest stiff anybody. That my reputation is on the line and I couldn't do it. If I had to go borrow money to make sure the boys were paid, that I did whatever I had to do. And I put myself financially in debt for many, many years. That's why I'm no longer in the business. But I made sure, and I did everything I possibly could. It's very hard. It's 24/7. If you work a job, you go home, you're doing pro wrestling until you go to sleep, until you got a show up to that point. And you're getting people, and as long as you have a good staff, if you don't have a good staff and do it by yourself, it's very, very hard.
Here, I'll touch upon another quick story on that. Is there was a local Money Mark that was helping a local promoter in town, and we had talked to bring in random names throughout this summer, and one of the names that was asked was Tracy Smothers, and I'd known Tracy at this point for a good while, so I made the arrangements, and we, you know, I kind of played the middleman, and the Money Mark was like, all right, you know, that's absolutely doable. We'll make it happen. We'll do a clinic earlier in the day where we can, you know, do half the gate for the clinic will go to him. So it'll like take some of the price down for me. Like whatever, you know, he's cool. He'll be there. The night before, the Money Mark messages me to say, hey man, we have to cancel Tracy because I don't have any money. I says, we can't cancel Tracy. That's career suicide for me because I'd gone out of the way and he's one of my friends and I want to make sure that he gets his booking. So being a good friend, I paid for him. I just told the story today to somebody and they were absolutely shocked that I actually was the one that fronted the cash to make it happen.
And you know, that happens more often than not in this business. And, you know, to Bubba's point, for every one promoter in this business that's like you, Bubba, and make sure you take care of everybody, there's probably 10 who don't.
I know, but I did the best I could. Even to go off of Potter's story, I borrowed $400 off my mom to get Jerry Lynn for the Robert Hornak Memorial Show as his surprise appearance. And my poor mom, and he's like, just pay me back. And I said, hey, if you don't pay back your mom, I mean, what kind of person are you? I paid her back, but God bless my mom. I mean, and I paid it because I felt it was right for that show and it added that extra thing. But It's very, very. I don't know how guys do it today. I mean, I just don't.
Tax returns.
I don't get that much. I don't get that much.
Yeah. Also, don't trust tax return promoters.
There's many.
Good point, Dash.
You know, I'll say this. You know, Paul, you talk about not being able to pay for the building, and there are other circumstances as well. There's a reason why a lot of us have had to wrestle in certain places that haven't had amenities like heat or running water. Why we've had to wrestle in these very strange places, these outdoor venues like parking lots or Lego museums, and a lot of it is because that there's been these promoters running for decades now.
What'd you say? Lego museums.
I'll tell you that story offline, Alva. but there have been these people that have been running and burning bridges with these buildings for decades now that are making it that much harder for reputable promotions and reputable promoters to get an actual building or a decent venue. It's very hard, and it's because of these wannabe promoters.
Hey, Paul, can I ask a question to everybody here tonight?
Sure.
What was let's start. Where was the strangest place you've ever worked? I can say for me that I worked outside in a parking lot at a Wendy's.
Right by the dumpster.
Right by the dumpster.
That's a good that's a good one there. All right, well let's roundtable that real quick. Bubba Brewer, what's the strangest place you ever worked?
I'm gonna say the place. Well, the Rose Inn was crazy times, but actually, we worked the show at the Ox-Hill Fair. Crazy good times. But, the Ox-Hill Fair in the middle of a cow pasture, pretty much.
Okay. All right, Stacy Hunter, where's the craziest place you ever worked at?
Oh God. There were so many shows outside in the rain. There was a barn. There was a skating rink. Oh God. Potter's laughing. He remembers that one. Oh God. It's just, I honestly can't think of just one. I mean, they've all been weird in some way.
Dash Bennett, let's hear it. What you got, buddy?
Stacy, my first match was in that skating rink, and the ceiling was so low that the promoter had to cut the poles so the ring would fit in the building. I've
first of all, don't call him a promoter. Don't insult real promoters like that.
Wendy's parking lot, Aaron's parking lot under a bridge. The Lego Museum in Bel Air, Ohio was by far the strangest. I actually wrestled a Lego death match in the main event where we just I took a sack of Legos, threw it in the ring, and slammed a guy on it like they were thumbtacks. It was great.
They were all red, weren't they? Just like your shirt.
In 30 years, I thought I heard it all, but man, I've never heard of that.
Never heard that. Where's the worst place? Where's the worst place you ever did, Paul?
Mine, well, it was part of a state fair in Maryland. We actually wrestled in the circus tent after all the circus performers, so you had to watch out for the ample animal debris after the match because they didn't really clean it up very much. So we got back to there was a trailer right outside the circus tent that you had to change in. It was our dressing room. And I thought some of the areas in the Deep South were crazy when it came to wrestling. They actually, the heel trailer, somehow they found out which was the heel trailer, and the entire place just converged around that trailer after the show to where we literally had to have the Maryland State Police get us to our cars afterwards. And again, dodge the animal debris and everything else. So yeah, that was a pretty wild one there because at one point it was nuts. But even worse than that, I actually did a show at the Western Pennsylvania State Penitentiary.
Oh my God.
For the inmates.
Wow.
We were ushered in to a little rec area because the ring was set up in the rec yard. Once the ring crew set up, they had to take all the tools and leave. The top rope breaks in the first match. And for some ungodly idea, somebody thought it was a good idea to serve the inmates apples for lunch that day.
Oh my God.
Oh
So you
God.
can imagine that those apples made their way into many of the inmates' pockets, and I probably got pelted with at least a half a dozen apples that day. It was I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? Look, honest to God, when I went through the metal detector, I emptied my pockets, the thing went off. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Dug real down deep into my pocket. I had a dime in my pocket. That's how sensitive the friggin' metal detectors were. So yeah, Western Penitentiary, the state pen, that was probably the absolute strangest place I've ever done a show.
Paul, I got two.
All right, go ahead, Boomer.
I got two. Do you remember the outdoor show we did at the restaurant in Robinson,
Yes.
where we had
Yes, I
to
do.
dress in the kitchen while they were cooking?
Yes, I do. I remember it well.
I did a read.
Oh,
Thinking about it, I did a Rita's Italian Ice. It was a parking lot of a
God.
Rita's Italian Ice.
Oh my
I
God.
might be crowned champion tonight in the strangest place I've ever worked, on a lake. A
What?
floating ring on a lake.
Oh,
That's
No way.
amazing.
That is,
Welcome
How
to the
did-
Carolinas.
would you take a rowboat out to the ring?
They would pull you on a raft to get to the ring, and this is how. As fans watching it, you could tell who was going to go get dumped in the lake because they were not wearing boots.
There was your tip right there.
oh my God.
I don't think anyone's solving that.
No,
Yeah,
I
you-
don't.
you got
I don't
that one.
think it. Nix, you seem to have a pretty calm career, but did you have one that was really out there?
The parking lot behind a private social club where the parking lot was just at enough of an angle that you couldn't really notice it if you were looking, but when you were working in the ring, you could notice that you were kind of staggering to the side more than usual. That was, had to rebalance in the other direction.
So, all right, guys. I'm sure we could go on with this all night long if we had to, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up tonight. For this week, I want to thank all my council members for spending the time here tonight to tell these stories to everybody. Nix, it's great having you here.
Thank you again.
Starting Monday night, look for it across our social media platforms. There will be the face-off segment Tuesday night, the Underground Showdown itself, the aftermath segments on Wednesday, and then we will be back here Thursday night live to go over the first semifinal match from
Rev.
Area 1, the Rev and
Rev.
Loss Prevention. So
Shut up, Bubba.
calm down, Bubba. Calm down.
I'm good. I haven't
All
sworn.
right.
I'm
This week.
I know. I'm
All
changing.
right.
I'm changing it. I got a new attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't gonna be calm next week after Loss Prevention kicks the crap out of the Rev.
All right. Well, we may see another different side of Bubba come next week, or we may see a different side of Stacy. You never know which is which. But guys, once again,
Okay.
thank you for joining me here this week. I want to thank everybody out there in social media land for watching tonight. Follow Fight Underground across all our social media platforms. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for being here.